Hey folks, welcome to episode 79 of Biomassed. I am back, Jason Larison here, and we're going to go ahead and plow through this show as best we can. It's, again, one of those interesting times. We have a lot of interesting game things to talk about, not a lot of Dust or Eve stuff. There is some things of note that we will get into, but we do have an interesting perspective. We had a media pass into BlizzCon, so Zell will give us all the inside scoop on that one. We'll get into that here shortly. So without further ado, let's go ahead and do a couple of quick intros, and we'll jump right in. So we're going to start at the bottom of the list. So Pokey, you're up, man.
Hey, I'm Pokey Jordan from OSG Planetary Operations. I co-host the show and occasionally write for the blog.
Outstanding. And Heracles.
Hey, this is Heracles Porsche, member of Capital Acquisitions LLC, and as always, I am a Dust YouTuber and altaholic.
Okay. Let's see. Biomass streaming Soraya Zell.
I'm Soraya Zell. I'm a was on the CPM. I'm a co-host here on the show and a writer on the blog.
Alrighty. And Bait.
Hey everybody, what's up? My name is Aiwha Bait. I'm a member of the Incorruptibles Corporation and a writer for the Biomass blog.
And I am Jason Larison. I'm one of the purveyors of the Biomass podcast, and I am not a contributor to the blog, although I read it and heckle it frequently. I have been in and out of for the last couple of weeks with some real life work type stuff, so it is good to be back and good to have have a good chat with the bros here about some game stuff going on here and there in a variety of different games, CCP and otherwise. So we can go ahead and kind of jump right into a couple things. We've got a little bit of news on the youth side. You got two things going on. One, you have the Amarr Championships, which is kind of a player-run tournament. It has some really neat lore tie-ins going on, and again, it's a further picture of how CCP over the last probably year or so, 12 to 14 months, if you will, they've really been amping up the interaction into the player story tapestry. It's really, really cool on the EVE side if you're into it and you really get into kind of the lore and the backstory of the game. You can see a lot of different hooks. They've got a really deep storyline on EVE if you've ever looked into it. I've highly encouraged people that are interested in hardcore sci-fi to kind of get into it. Long story short, the player-run tournament player participating tournament will choose the faction that the next emperor or empress of the Amarr Empire will come from. For those of you that know EVE, they are one of the major factions in EVE, and so this is a pretty cool thing where the player actions directly choose the NPC that will govern probably the major block in the lore, the story-driven lore part of EVE right now. So again, should be pretty interesting to see how this goes down. I think they're about halfway through the tournament, so kudos to CCP for engaging the players in that. And
do they
go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. Do they have like backstories written for these NPCs that are like detailed, or
yeah?
How detailed would you say they are?
I've seen a couple. There were like literally they were blurbs, but my understanding is that there are much deeper reads on these people, because I think some of them they've been mentioned repeatedly throughout the actual story of EVE over the last many years. We'd have to bring on like an actual lore kung fu expert to get into it in terms of the EVE stuff, because it is very intricate and there's a lot of backstory that you have to weave into a lot of different media to get. But my understanding is that at least some of the candidates are known figures in the kind of current Amarr storyline.
Cool.
Yep. And I think let's transition over real quick to Dust. By the way, the Dust 514 gang is not involved in any way in the Amarr championships, although there was a brief push by both some EVE and some Dust side folks with CCP. They were trying to convince them to get the Dust side involved a little bit, and I would offer that it would actually have been probably a pretty cool event if they could have actually pulled it off. That being said, CCP has a horrendous track record at trying to run the first-person shooter style tournaments, as we've seen three times in Dust anyway. So, and by the way, in my bitterness will show, as I also say, this is their as they further distance themselves by not mentioning or acknowledging that Dust is actually a thing publicly to EVE players. So moving on to actual inside the game Dust 514 stuff. CCP Ritati has put up an interesting UI image that shows an in-game UI image, I believe, from Dust that shows some range data for different weapons, which is something that a lot of players have been asking for a long time, kind of understanding optimal and effective ranges for weapons. Go
It's
ahead, Joe.
just, from what I saw, it was just effective, just one line, effective range. But even just that is a really huge win for everyone to be able to kind of get that basic idea of how long a weapon is meant to be going.
Yeah, I'll buy that. I mean, it's, little things like that actually are pretty powerful when folks actually start playing the game and they're trying to understand how things work. Particularly without having to go to a third-party tool set, which most of the third-party tools for Dust don't work anymore. But either way, it's a good on them for adding it. Any news on when the next patch or release for Dust is, by the way?
That would require that we have a CPM with us, and we do not today.
No, I didn't know if they'd said anything over the last week or so.
Not that I heard.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see. Heracles, I think you had a couple quick notes about some Dust videos you were uploading, brother?
Yeah, I actually processing right now is a PC of Titans of Phoenix versus War Ravens. So that'll probably be up by the time we're done this podcast. And pretty soon I should have my 700 subs yay video. Oh my god, it's Darth! Yeah, look, it's Darth! And that's everything from me.
Oh, so we do have a CPM we can heckle now.
Heckle the CPM.
Go for it.
Heckle, heckle, heckle.
Jay, you wanna ask him your question now that he's here?
Sure. Darth, you mind doing a quick intro?
No problem.
You're cutting out there for me.
Apparently this is a problem.
You didn't get that?
No.
Go ahead.
We love you anyway, Darth.
Okay. Darth, CPM2, ready to put the shield up.
Oh, okay. All right. Yep, no heckling on my part. I was just curious if you had any tidbits that you could drop us or give us a quick heads up on, maybe some topics of interest that you guys are engaging CCP on. And also, what I just asked literally right before you hopped on was if there had been any public mention of whenever the next point release was coming out.
No public mention for 1.3 yet. We are working on it. But as for things that I can say, we are really close to finishing up the details for the next event, whenever that will be, but we're excited about it.
Your mother was a hamster and your father smelled of elderberries.
I fought in your general direction.
Alrighty.
Okay. All right. So since most of you in the room were actually not alive when that movie came out, we're going to have to put a moratorium on that at some point.
Oh my god.
I think I'm literally the only person that was in this room that was alive when that movie came out. Okay. I guess my general question, since you're here, Darth, if you don't mind, is there anything going on in game that you think is worth mentioning that you'd like to bring up or maybe highlight to the audience?
In game, I like the continued. Well, I mean, this is kind of pandering to Heracles, but I like all the machinima and the use of the no HUD glitch that I've been seeing on YouTube. Yeah, I've been following that.
Have you?
Oh yeah, shit. That's sorry to cut you off. That's the other thing I forgot to mention is I'm trying to find a screenwriter for my next Dust machinima. That's been my little project on the forums, is to try and track someone down who wants to write a really awesome machinima script for me. I think Aeon said he might be working on something like that. I already have quite a few volunteers for voice contributors. So yeah, if there's anyone out there who thinks they can write a machinima script, that would be awesome. And if you don't know what machinima is, Google it right now and then go write me a machinima script.
Oh wait, all right. Just a quick thought here. You said Aeon Amadi was gonna write the script, or he was looking at writing?
He was potentially gonna write something. Apparently, he's pretty familiar with EVE's lore, and the people who write me the script don't have to be EVE lore experts, but there would be a built-in audience for that, so that would be optimal if someone wanted to come up with something that had tied into EVE lore.
Oh well, I mean, I would pay money to listen to an Aeon, written script. I assume it would go something along the lines of.
Be nice. I mean, he is crazy about lore. No mistake.
Hey, Darth, are you tracking the Amarr championships on the EVE side? Have you been following that?
Only insofar as the YouTube videos and very cursory e-forums.
Yeah. No, I was just kind of curious. Okay. Let's see. Any other TCP-ish news that we wanted to kick around? No. Going once, going twice.
Well, we could mention that it looks like Sony is ramping up to release their VR headset in 2016. No date as of now, but I have noticed that CCP's been kind of pushing Valkyrie news a bit more on Twitter. Nothing too concrete, but just, more recent activity on screenshots and stuff like that. So, I can imagine they're probably holding off or at least trying to align the release of that with the Sony VR headset, which would probably be a good launch.
If I'm not mistaken, I think it's actually like the release title.
I
it's
think
the one
so
that comes
too.
with it.
I think they're, I got the impression Valkyrie was probably ready to play effectively like a year ago, and they expected that you would be able to buy the Oculus Rift as a release product like a year or two ago, and so that's what they were building for. And then it's just kind of trotted along, and so they've kept going. They've added more to it, and they've probably done what you would normally see in post-release patches and started to add a lot of content to it. But I feel like they've probably been done with the core game for a while now.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that the Sony one seems to be ahead of the game in terms of releasing before the Oculus Rift. I fully expected the Oculus to come out first, but it looks like Sony's on top of their game.
I think the Oculus people are perfectionists.
Well, they sold to Facebook, right?
They did.
They were originally intending that to be the Sony platform, and then that kind of took a left turn at Albuquerque there. But I was mentioning to some other people earlier. I mean, Oculus ultimately right now is a tech jumping off point for a lot of different entities, and it does not necessarily surprise me that another organization with a significant R&D capability is actually coming out with what we think may be a comparable option. I have messed around with Oculus Rift, but we basically got some of our guys got some dev kits of it when we were working on some projects, and it is very impressive, but it is what I understand is happening is a lot of people are trying to get into the VR game at the same time. You just don't hear about quite a few of them. I think last count there were probably about 4, maybe 5 that were actually legit people trying to develop systems, and Oculus just made the most headway in recent times. So a lot of people are trying to draft off of them right now. So you never know. I mean, I have not got my hands on Morpheus, so I have no idea how that compares. If you have not tried on an Oculus Rift, and there's a lot of people that haven't, I mean, they're still relatively rare to get a hold of. It is pretty impressive, particularly the ones that they've got out now, the ones that they're operating off of now. It can be very, very impressive. It definitely took me by surprise.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to try the earlier builds of Valkyrie on the Developer Kit 1 Oculus, and it was, it kind of had that screen door effect, which has since been fixed with the new HD version, but it was like, whoa, like it's nothing, like people think, oh, VR sounds cool, but until you try it, you really don't know how cool it really is. So I'm actually very excited, looking forward to trying out the Sony one as well to see if it compares, because it's going to be really neat if they actually pull it off.
No, I would definitely agree with that. So, Zell, regale us of your tales of BlizzCon with your Biomassed Media Pass.
Yeah,
AKA
my Media Pass
your
being
web pass.
I bought the BlizzCon virtual ticket, which is like $40, and it comes with your HD streaming rights, and then it's got a bunch of little add-ins for your different games, some pets and mounts and crud like that. And so funny thing, the event happened. It was Friday and yesterday, and I did not watch any of it at all. I paid for the ticket. I have not watched any of it. I guess I can go back, but anyway, so I did follow along though. Thanks to the wonders of social media and the variety of fan sites that have to announce every minor thing relating to any Blizzard title. And the big things for me that stand out is so there were the big Warcraft trailer came out with it, and that was a big deal. But I was unimpressed. It felt like a TV movie to me. The CGI looked atrociously awful. Maybe my standards are too high. I don't know. I don't know if anybody else has an opinion. But they also released the cinematic for the next expansion of WoW, which is Legion. And that looked way better. The game cinematic looked better than the movie trailer for the big budget movie.
It does not surprise me. Random question. I know very little about Warcraft. Did what you saw in the trailer, which I watched probably about an hour ago, is that does that look like it's from the game? I mean, does that look pretty legit in terms of the story of Warcraft and all that kind of jazz?
From my understanding, it's Warcraft 1, which of course is very, very, very old, and back when these games were much, much lower graphics quality. Because that game, when did Warcraft 1 come out? It was a long time ago. But
it was definitely a while ago, yeah.
So, I guess the look was pretty similar, but it feels like it was too similar to the point that it felt like there were they had live action heads parked on top of kind of poor quality CG and costume work. I wish they'd done a little bit more into it.
Okay, all right, that's pretty fair. I mean, my general impression, I know, like I said, don't really know much about Warcraft, but it kind of struck me as a Lord of the Rings wannabe kind of esque sort of thing. So it could be interesting. It might be like an entertaining summer movie kind of thing, but I don't think it's going to be any great shakes, at least from what like the 2 minute and 20-second trailer that they've got out now can show you.
Yeah, I'm pretty unimpressed by the trailer. I mean, the big difference is that when you look at something like Lord of the Rings, it tends to be humans good, orcs bad, whatever. And they're very much trying to portray both factions as fully deep roles.
Yeah, no, well, they do have some real talent in the movie, though. I mean, they've got 2 or 3 people in there that at least look. They're pretty well-known Hollywood folks. I think Ben Foster's in it. The guy that plays on Vikings, the History Channel show Vikings, which fairly critically acclaimed. He, I think, is the lead human in it. There's 2 or 3 other folks that are floating around in there when you look it up on IMDb. So they do have some decent talent on the movie. So I actually hope it does well. I mean, it would be interesting to see a video game movie actually turn out well for a change.
I don't know if this is going to be that movie, to be honest.
Well, it can't be worse than like Blood Rain or some other Yui Bowl.
That's
movie.
true. That's true. I mean, the bar to beat is low.
Fair point. What other stuff did you pull off from Blizzard?
So so Legion is looking like it's going to be a decent looking expansion. We'll see what they do with it. It's kind of hard to tell until you actually play it. As with most WoW expansions, I'll show up for a few months. I'm playing WoW now, actually. By the way, I'm totally doing a terrible job as a tank right now because I'm trying to talk. But I come back right before a new expansion. I play for a little bit, and then I leave after the expansion, and I pretty much just play it to gather the experience without spending a lifetime on it like I used to. But the other big thing is Overwatch, which is not going to be free to play, which is a bit of a surprise to pretty much everybody. It is going to be $60, or I think it's $40 for the lowest edition that you can get. And I guess they are still probably going to sell skins, but you are going to have all of the heroes at launch. And I guess the reason they decided that is because the way this game works, as opposed to like League of Legends or Heroes of the Storm, character switching mid-match is common, and they felt that it would heavily gimp the game to have the kind of standard free-to-play hero unlock system.
Okay. Well, I mean, it should be interesting to see how that thing turns out. I've been kind of following it.
I'm really excited about it. I want to buy it, but they won't freaking give me a beta invite.
Hey, so how many people play in a match? Is it MOBA style, or is it like 4-on-4 or something?
I think it's like 6v6.
It's actually just like a team deathmatch, though, right? It's not like what's the gameplay like?
It is. It's like a third-person shooter, I think, but it's hero-based, like a MOBA.
Okay.
And they have literally like each class, each hero has like 4 abilities. It looks like a MOBA if it was played as a shooter.
That could be kind of interesting, I guess. I mean, there's
It feels
the MOBA
different
genre's
enough.
done a lot.
Yeah, I
Go
mean,
ahead.
it feels different enough from like your standard first-person shooter or your standard MOBA, and I think that they're trying something a little new. It's probably closest to Team Fortress, but we'll see what they do with it.
No, I think that's pretty legit. I've been kind of keeping my eye on it.
I'm really excited about it. I really want a freaking beta key so I can see what it's all about. But they haven't granted me or my brother or my friend one yet, so.
Alrighty, that sounds good. Let's see. Any other random news out there for the BlizzCon?
I think that's most of the interesting stuff at BlizzCon.
Okay.
I'm just trying to think if they announced anything else. I mean, as a Heroes of the Storm player, I'm excited about some of the new heroes they're throwing in there. They're gonna have a hero it's a single hero, but it's controlled by 2 players, which is kind of weird, and I don't think anyone's ever tried that before, so that should be kind of intriguing.
That might be kind of interesting to see how that works out.
Yeah, so they're gonna have one person controlling movement, one person controlling the ability. So, as you can imagine, much rage will happen when your partner doesn't do what you want.
That is a true statement. Particularly since, unless you're on your own comm system, you're not going to be able to talk to the dude. All right.
No voice in that.
Yeah. So for my end, a couple things that I've been taking a look at is I'm pretty much dead bored with everything going on. There's really nothing going on the PS3, and we do actually use it pretty extensively for the Blu-ray player and sort of like streaming video services, things like that, like Hulu and YouTube primarily, things like that. But I almost like just picked up a PS4 the other day, but I've been kind of messing around with it. I'm not entirely sure I'm ready to go snatch one up because I've got an interesting little sort of desktop computing game revival going on here.
There's so much great coming out for desktops right now.
There is, but I've actually, once you kind of start digging around Steam and you figure out all the games that you haven't played ever, there's a lot of stuff out there. And then some of the indie games coming out right now are just incredible. Very, very, very strong games in that market. And Steam is an interesting tool that, like a lot of those kind of digital consumer services. So I've actually been playing a fair amount of those kind of games, and some of the tablet games that come out, which I tend to play things like Scrabble and chess on, by the way. I don't have a lot of time to really sink into a game like something like Skyrim or something like that, because that used to be really my forte. And since I don't have time, I generally try to transition to other type of games. So I'm not sure if I'm ready to pick up a PS4 yet. I did a quick check. They do have a relatively new model that came out that's a little bit smaller. It's not the actual quote unquote slim version. It's just literally like 10% smaller. Runs a little bit cooler, but apparently it's much more power efficient. So if you are looking to pick up a PS4, make sure you pick up the latest generation chassis. But I think the PS4 for me is about almost in the window where it's a value buy, because they've got enough games out in the inventory right now, or at least enough that'll be coming out by Christmas, that it's probably or at least it might very well be worth the pickup for me.
Yeah, I forgot to mention the other big news about Overwatch is that Overwatch is not just for PC. It will be on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
Yeah, I saw that. That should be pretty interesting. Do you know if there's going to be cross-platform play?
I do not have any idea if it's cross-platform, and I'm not surprised if the answer is no, because nobody does that.
They said no because they're worried about PC players having an advantage over consoles because of the mouse and keyboard.
Because PCs are better. Also, but the other thing is that Macs suck, and Macs will not be supported, which is actually almost a first for Blizzard games. Is Blizzard has almost always had all their games be Mac PC and not console. And this time around, they're going with consoles, but Macs do not get to play.
Which is kind of sad. I really like my Mac.
I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry for you.
In before PC mustard rice.
Okay. So before we devolve into the sandbox, let's see. So, like I said, I may very well end up snatching up a PS4 here in the next week or so. Just
don't do it.
Well, if you've got another recommendation, I'm all in. But I'm certainly not going to get an Xbox.
PC?
Believe it or not, I actually thought about that, getting one of the little under the TV style PCs that they've got out now.
Steam box?
Not a Steam box, but they've got quite a few PCs
Yeah, I
that
mean,
are set up basically.
They're the same hardware. You can put Windows on them too. My Alienware Alpha is actually, they sell the same case as a Steam box, but it's a kind of a low end model that I use for watching TV.
Yeah, I mean, I had actually looked at that. I mean, you can get a pretty good setup for a relatively low price. Consider it something I'm going to plug into like a 70-inch plasma. So it's it could be pretty fun, but I just really don't want to go through all the hassle of the keyboard and mouse while I'm sitting on my couch.
You can actually, the Alienware Alpha is interesting. Mine did not come with a keyboard and mouse. It came with an Xbox controller.
Yep, those are pretty legit. I've actually used Xbox controllers for PC games in the past pretty routinely, and it does work decently well. I've actually, believe it or not, I've heard a couple of really good reports about the Steam controller. I've not used one. I've been toying around with the idea of just picking one up just to have it, but it is reportedly a pretty good controller to use.
My current setup is an Xbox One and a PS3 and a Mac hooked into a Hopage. So I'm basically doing everything you guys say I shouldn't be doing.
That's okay. I might join you in the Xbox camp here after Christmas, Heracles.
Yes! Oh my god, any chance you're going to play Battlefront on Xbox One?
Maybe.
Okay.
I will never forgive the Xbox One because I want to play Tomb Raider, but I have to wait a year because of the Xbox One.
Well, is there anything that's actually proprietary or not proprietary? Are there any like locks and titles on the Xbox?
Yeah, Halo. Just kidding. Halo's coming out.
I kind of
Halo is out. Halo 5 is out.
Halo is out.
Okay, so it's out now. It has Nathan Fillion in
Gears-
it, which is worth mention, but that's about it.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Gears of War 2, I think.
Yeah, I could go onto YouTube right now and watch the 25-minute ending cutscene of Halo is, and I'm caught up on that shit. So
That's what I did for Uncharted before I had a PlayStation.
Oh, I'll straight up tell you, I absolutely don't mind saying that this is one of the few times I legitimately quote unquote cheated. I went on to YouTube and watched the full Arkham Knight, like 2.5 hours worth of
I was tempted to do
cinematic
that.
movie. It's actually really good. When they edited it together, whoever this guy did it, he edited it together very, very well, and it was a seamless run through.
Uncharted. The guy who did Uncharted
incredibly good.
did the same way. The Uncharted movie, I would pay to see in the theater as it was cut from the game. So I can definitely understand where that's going with the movie if they ever finish making that movie.
Yeah,
Those
incredibly
Batman
impressed by
games
that.
are actually worth playing though too. I mean, they have great cinematics and but I mean, when you get to play in the Predator mode where you're like stalking people and like dropping down and like hanging people from like a gargoyle statue, that stuff is freaking awesome.
Oh, I would. I've played the other Arkham games, and I was very surprised because superhero games, like mainstream superhero games, have been really hit or miss. But that one I thought was maybe the Arkham series in general, and particularly the Arkham Knight, the last one. That really captured a lot of the things that you want as a comic book fan, and it played like you said, it played very well. I did not particularly care for the Batmobile tank shit though. But generally, the Arkham series plays pretty good, and I'm kind of interested to see what their next project might be, just to see what they can do to build off of that. I'd like them to go something maybe totally different, but they've done really, really good with Arkham, so should be interesting to see.
Yeah, my friends came over when I was playing that Batman, like the Batmobile tank sequence, and they're like, "You're not playing a Batman game." I'm like, "Yes, just wait. A Batman cutscene's coming right around the corner. Believe me."
Yeah.
But if you're gonna go through and if you're gonna cheat and just watch cutscenes, the one I would most recommend is on Arkham Origins. There's like a cutscene where it goes into like Joker's past. Well, I mean it's present for the game, but whatever. It's when Joker first meets Batman basically, and Batman basically like saves Joker's life, even though
Are you spoiling plots?
Yeah, and I am spoiling plots, but
It's
it's
been
right
out for a
after
while.
that. Right after that, there's like a big revelation in Joker's mind, and it's well worth watching.
It is pretty good, and as with a lot of the other Arkham games, it's incredibly well voice acted. So kudos
Well,
to
yeah, it's
them.
Mark Hamill doing the voice acting, so it's like a must see for any Batman fan.
Oh, did he do the Joker voice in this one?
Yeah, yep.
I thought he was done with that
Are you
after
sure about
the
that?
other one.
I'm pretty sure if that's not Mark Hamill, I will
I
eat
will
my
get ready
hat
to check.
or something edible. That's not edible.
I'm googling it right now.
Yeah, as am I.
Oh my god. Okay, better start looking around the house for those objects.
Let me go to the
We gotta
trusty
fill-
IMDb.
We need to fill the awkward silence while people are googling.
It is Mark Hamill.
Yes!
Way down on the list of
Yes, vindicated.
voice actors.
Yep, there you go.
Steve Bloom is in that game too. Huh.
Yeah, he does an incredible amount
Steve
of
Bloom
voice.
is in
He's
everything that
fucking
has
cool.
voice acting.
He's fucking cool.
Well,
If there's voice acting, he's done it.
Yep, he's I think the guy that's done the Wolverine voice the most out of like anybody ever.
Yes, yes, he's Wolverine anywhere that Wolverine is not played by Hugh Jackman.
Pretty much.
Also in Halo.
Interesting one. If you look on IMDb, the very first name, Carlos Alazraqui, he is an incredibly prolific voice actor. You will know him from Reno 911, though.
But yeah, that Batman Arkham Origins game, I just consider that one of like the great hidden gems of gems of gaming. Hidden gems of gaming. Blah, blah, blah.
Well, I believe they've actually announced that the first solo Batman movie in the kind of DC cinematic universe is going to be under the Red Hood, which will be interesting and has all sort of funny tie-ins to who might the Joker be in the actual Suicide Squad and or in the DC universe, if it's actually the Joker or if it's Jason Todd.
So explain what you just said for those of us who aren't up to date on that.
There was many years ago. There was a fairly big storyline where it was called Death in the Family, where Robin was killed by Joker, the Jason Todd version of Robin, who's the guy. He's basically the person that followed Dick Grayson, the classic Robin. And this is back when there was no such thing as the interwebs really, but you had to write in or call in rather and vote. So the fans voted whether or not Jason Todd would get killed by the Joker, and literally it was like 51 to 49, or something like that. They voted that Jason Todd gets killed by the Joker. And that was at the time a very dark turn for most comic books. That was particularly a mainstream one. So, without telling a lot about what goes on in the comic, Jason Todd's captured by the Joker, and in a fairly brutal way. Again, for a pretty mainstream comic, he's killed. He's murdered by the Joker, which then starts a whole series of different downstream things in the rest of the Batman universe. Many years later, it ends up there's a villain or another vigilante he's tracking down called the Red Hood, and that turns out to be a resurrected Jason Todd. So, and if you've played the Arkham Knight, you know that the Arkham Knight ultimately is Jason Todd. And if you look at how his uniform is set up, it's got the little digital helmet flickers red a lot, or when he's fighting him, it becomes all red. That's the Red Hood, basically the Red Hood helmet from the comics, the classic comics. So the interesting part about it is there are storylines where basically the original Joker brainwashed, tortured, and did all kind of crazy stuff to Jason Todd to turn him into the Red Hood. And also, and in some storylines like the Batman Beyond type stuff, he actually became the Joker instead of becoming the next Batman, that kind of thing. So there's some speculation that the Jared Leto Joker in the Suicide Squad and in the DC cinematic universe is actually Jason Todd, one of the Robins that was formerly Batman's partner, which would probably work out about right because Jared Leto is a much younger person than Ben Affleck in the movie. So the age range would probably work about right. And then there's a lot of people who have pointed out things about the character, about how he's got a lot of metal in his mouth, like metal grill in his mouth, like replacement teeth. That was one of the things. The Joker basically beat Jason Todd with a like a crowbar until it knocked all his teeth out. And you see the crowbar in the Robin uniform in the Ben Affleck Batcave. So there's a lot of interesting little nod, tips of the hat and nods there to the Red Hood storyline. So again, one of those interesting things. I'm kind of waiting to see how the DC cinematic universe plays it off.
They've been having a lot of fun with the Joker on Gotham as well, because they spent the first season and a half really so far where they tease who it might be, where they introduce different like characters that could potentially be the Joker, and there's one they had in season 2 that was really, really amazing, but there's no word on who the actual Joker will be.
That movie or that show is definitely it's very difficult for me to watch, only because I'm pretty well steeped in the comic book. So every time I see that show, there's stuff about it just makes me cringe.
It's so very distinctly an alternate version perception universe type of deal.
Oh, absolutely.
But I mean, I assume that Barbara is not the Barbara that is from the comics. Is all you can say.
Oh yeah, you would hope so. I mean, they if you knew nothing about the Batman universe and you took all this at face value, it's actually I would offer a pretty well executed TV series. But if you are a comic book fan, it eats you alive watching it. As it goes on, it's one of those where I think. I'm not sure how much longer that show can actually last, because they end up basically with every episode pissing some large swath of their audience off. And I mean, like I said, very well executed, but it's very difficult to tell where that series is.
Well, it depends
going.
what you consider their audience. If you consider it comic book nerds, I mean,
Yeah,
there isn't a such thing as really comic book TV or movie adaptations that are really faithful to the comics. You really just have to view them as alternate universes and different perceptions.
That is true. Although I would offer that the Arrow is probably the closest one that I've seen, and it is.
But I mean, if you
pretty well tacked off on the original.
But if you looked at Arrow when it started, it didn't look like it fit the DC universe at all, and they've actually wrapped it more into it over time.
What came out first? Well, let's see. So Man of Steel came out first, right? And then the Arrow started?
I don't remember.
I don't think there was a DC cinematic universe, and at least not.
I mean, the movies do not relate to the TV shows at all. The TV shows kind of have a cohesive universe with Arrow, The Flash, and Legends of Tomorrow, which is coming, that I'm pretty excited about. I don't know if they'll try and tie in Supergirl.
I thought that one was actually more closely aligned with the actual cinematic universe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I don't know. They haven't really said anything.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're going to have a different.
The Flash is pretty good, by the way.
Yeah, and despite how good the Flash is and how many people love it, they're going to have a different Flash for the movie universe, and I think that's a terrible mistake.
Yeah, I think that's a bad idea. Like, I did not know who was playing the Flash until I actually looked up the guy. Wow, he's a douche nozzle. But the guy that they've got playing Barry Allen right now is actually really good, and he's very, very well liked by the fans. All right, let's see. I'm trying to run down my list of other things that we had on tap to speak about. Let's see. I'm not tracking. We have a whole lot of other major news out there, unless anybody's got anything they want to tip off. Wait, when Fallout comes out this week, right?
On the 10th.
Ah, yes. Anybody going to be jumping on that bandwagon day one?
Yeah.
I think I'll probably pick it up in a little bit. I just purchased Far Cry 4 because I don't have it and I wanted to try it, so I don't need a second game to put on top of that. But I will definitely be getting Fallout 4 at some point. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Fallout series. It will. I hope it's. I hope they really build on it though, instead of just kind of iterating it with some different adventures and maps. But they do have the gameplay down quite well. So I will be very interested to see how this goes. I'm always a little bit suspect when you see like a game, like particularly when these really deep games that you really enjoyed, and they come out with whatever the next version is. I mean, if they did it, particular games that did it well, they get into this really difficult position where the gameplay or the mechanics they structured or how they tell the story or whatever made the game good, it's not good enough just to do that again with a different location and a next chapter, if you will. There's always this desire to make it somewhat different or unique. And in some ways, I think that's actually, I mean, it really puts them in a no-win scenario, because if they try to stay with really what actually made them popular and brought them to that point, they get accused of like, oh, all you did was just, slap a new coat of paint on it, but you didn't give us anything new, quote unquote. But if they try to vary away from that model too much, then they get into the, well, you totally walked away from what made you good the first time, so you suck. So it's a really thin line that they have to walk on Fallout. But I will be keen to see how that works out, because I am a big fan of that series.
Yeah, I think on that note, I think that they're basically really making a lot of the existing systems more robust and really adding a lot of depth to what they know works. Like weapon customization and stuff like that. Some really cool stuff with the power armor, kind of changing that up a bit, making it a little more. It's hard to explain from the trailers, but it looks pretty cool, and I think that they'll probably stick to what works from what we've seen, like you said. But like I said, they're really deepening and expanding a lot of the kind of those little small subsystems of the game, and I think that'll add some new stuff to think about, but still stay true to the franchise and what makes it good. So I have high hopes for it. I trust Bethesda to put together a solid title.
They are pretty good. I mean, like I said, that what they do very well. So I absolutely wish them luck. I'll be very keen to see how Fallout works out.
Are you a big Far Cry fan there, Pokey?
I have never actually played a Far Cry game, but I had to pick this one up. It looked really cool, and it was cheap online, so I grabbed it, and I'll be giving it a shot probably tomorrow when it comes in the mail.
Yeah, I've played 3 and 4, so let me know how you find that one. That could be interesting.
One thing that my brother's actually doing it right next to me in the background here, so if there's any background noise, I apologize, but we've been trying the Battleborn beta. It's done by Gearbox and 2K, which is the creators of Borderlands, and the beta is actually pretty interesting. It kind of plays like a MOBA in a sense, like Heroes of the Storm or League of Legends, in that you've got, I think, 25 heroes total. And for the PvP, you're actually guiding minions across the field. So if you're familiar with those MOBA games like League of Legends, you kind of guide the minions across, and you try to defend your minions to get them to the other side, and you try to blow up the enemy's minions, all while trying to kill the other team so they don't blow up your stuff. And it's a first-person shooter, though, which is really interesting. So it's there's melee classes and range classes, but it definitely has, at least in this game mode that's in the beta, a very distinctive MOBA feel, which it caught me off guard. I was not expecting that, but it's actually pretty interesting. So unlike Borderlands, you whenever you do a new level, you basically start at level 0 and you gain experience throughout the match and level up and get perks and whatnot. So in that regard, it's like a MOBA, but there's also a single-player campaign which surprisingly behaves the same way, in the regard that you start at level 0 at the beginning of each mission and level up much the same way, but it still has all of the wacky humor and the visuals that Borderlands has, and overall it's a very enjoyable experience. I don't know if anyone has tried the beta or whatnot in here, but if you can still sign up, I think it's coming to a close pretty quick, so I'm not sure you can get in for this round. But it's very interesting. It's a definite strange mix of an FPS and a MOBA, which is unique, and it's hilarious. Even like the one story mission they give you to test, it's great. It's hilarious. If you're a fan of Borderlands, you're gonna love it. And I think that if you do play MOBAs, it's definitely worth a shot because it is a cool twist on that kind of gameplay. So yeah, it's cool stuff.
Now, what you're describing sounds a bit like Overwatch that Zell was talking about. Do you think this is like maybe an emergent trend that we're seeing in MOBA style games, just because the MOBA market's pretty saturated right now? They're kind of shifting to something new.
I actually got the two games confused when they first announced. I thought they were the same game, and I was like, wait, one's Blizzard, one's Gearbox. That's weird. So I think that they definitely have a very similar feel. The visuals are fairly similar in kind of a kind of distorted cartoony style, and the gameplay does look similar. So I think that you're right in that the recent trend of MOBAs and everyone's kind of jumping on that bandwagon because they are definitely popular. I mean, you look at I'm always, it's mind-boggling when I look at the e-game sports and all that stuff for League of Legends, like people in giant stadiums watching people play a video game. It's very weird for me. I mean, I'm used to, growing up with playing Mario in your living room, and now you see it's like a sporting event for a video game. So
here's what really baffled me, Pokey. There is a fantasy league for League of Legends, like you have fantasy LCS teams. That's an actual thing. It's completely like official. It's a thing, and I found out about it from my brother who actually plays League of Legends. I'm like, no, good God, no.
What I can't figure out is like a lot of MOBA games are not like, I'm trying to figure out why League of Legends became the big esports kind of flagship. I cannot figure that out. They don't appear to be fun to me to watch. If that makes sense.
Me too, dude. I'm scratching my head over that. I didn't find them fun to play. So,
well, like I've watched like you get on YouTube and you watch like some of the big esports tournament, and they'll have like pretty good commentators. It sounds a lot like the dodgeball movie with like Pep Strebeck, fucking calling the shots on this thing. But they're well produced and they're well done, but it is just. It's not a game that it looks like it's fun to watch, whereas something maybe more of a first-person shooter style might be more fun. But it's really hard. It's because you can't see the entire screen at one time, and it's really hard to get a sense of what's going on in different places on the map. It's not a spectator-friendly game, so I cannot figure out why in the world that is. Why that became the flagship, unless it was just an absolutely genius set of marketers that helped put it on the map, which may be the case.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Jay in the regard that watching those MOBA tournaments are just absolutely boring. I'd much rather watch a Counter-Strike tournament. Everyone that I've seen has been so much fun to watch, and but yeah, I just don't see the appeal to wating
Wait, I gotta
even
ask Zell
playing one of those
something.
MOBAs.
Zell, so wait, those people with their fantasy leagues, are they fantasizing that is the fantasy league for the in-game characters or for the people who
for
play?
fantasy, like members of different known
championship
teams? Yes.
Oh my god, dude!
So it's
unreal.
like fantasy football for your fucking esports team.
Yes.
God damn, dude.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
It's just weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
I don't even understand the recent, semi-recent, with the streaming and people streaming and making lots of money off of streaming. It baffles me because I find watching a stream typically very boring unless it's, like a developer announcement or something. But just watching people play a game that I'm interested in, I'm just going to go play the damn game. I'm not going to watch someone else play. So I don't understand the culture, but obviously it's something that's popped up fairly recently, and it's huge. I mean, even just on PlayStation 4, when you're scrolling through your game menu, it'll show you active streams that are currently up of people playing that game. So you can instead of clicking on the game and going, I want to play this, you can scroll down and go, I'm going to watch someone else play the game that I currently have sitting in my system. I think it's weird, but it's obviously popular enough that people are literally making a living off of it. It's just insane.
Yeah, I mean, I understand watching the highlights. Some of the highlights are really fun to watch. The little clips of on YouTube, but like sitting there watching the whole game, I just can't.
Yeah, it's very strange, and I agree. Like you'll get bits where people record something that was funny or really cool or badass, and I'll watch those. I mean, that's cool, but I'm not going to sit there for 4 hours and watch someone else play a game. It's very strange to me.
I could understand it if the people watching have like some kind of control or input. Like if you're playing one of those like choose your own adventure games or something, and the audience could vote, then I could totally see that.
Yeah, like Twitch plays Pokemon. Like that's actually pretty cool. I like that because it's kind of a meta game.
Have you seen Twitch installs Arch Linux?
I have heard of it. I did not watch it, but that sounds terrifying.
Twitch installs Linux. It's a collaborative text-based horror game.
Oh my goodness! Are they actually installing the thing?
They had to shut it down because someone tried overwriting it with Gen 2.
All right, we have definitely come full circle on this one. Let's see. I'm not tracking. We got anything else that we wanted to throw out on the table, unless you guys want to continue to talk about the vagaries of esports.
I watched a Magic the Gathering tournament. That was a waste of time.
Yeah, but I give you absolutely no points on that one because you should have known that would have been a waste of time before you started watching it.
Well,
were you drugged there? Were you drugged there?
No, I watched it online.
Okay, that's worse because you actively chose to do that.
I thought it would be interesting. I enjoy playing Magic, but I thought, let's watch this tournament. Dude, I quit after like 30 minutes.
Okay.
Do you have Magic 2014 bait?
Cards?
No, the game.
No.
No, you don't have that. Oh,
I have the cards.
Okay. Those online games are worth it because you save hella money if you buy those.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Magic cards are so freaking expensive.
But that's why you do what I do. You just buy one pack and you play with that one deck. It's great.
Yeah, I can see that working.
Whatever, $20 I think was the cost for the starter core set thing. I don't even know what the fuck it's called. Built a white green deck, and I've used that deck for 6 months now, I guess. It's a fun little deck.
Yeah, no, there is actually. I remember playing Magic back in college, maybe years and years and years and years ago, and it was kind of fun. But it just trading card games, collectible trading card games, is just that's one of those things I never could get into. Some of the mechanics are really cool, but it just other than as a way to pass time with people in college, it was fun. Mostly because nobody had real money with which to play poker with, so we played Magic. So that worked out pretty well.
I think crack would be a cheaper habit.
Oh, I can't understand why people would pay that much money or pay continual amounts of fees for. Well, that's like microtransactions in its purest form, right there. It's like every time you turn around, you're coughing up a couple bucks for like a 5-card pack or some shit at the Walmart.
Just gotta resist. Don't do it. Don't go to Walmart.
Yep. All right. Well, folks, unless anybody's got any saved rounds.
I did have one more.
You're killing me. What do you got?
I was going to mention the Infinity Battlescape thing that Jadic had mentioned, and the fact that the Star Citizen guys were actually promoting it. Chris Roberts, who leads, Star Citizen, was actually like, "Here's this other cool space game you should go fund as well."
After you throw all your money at my game,
obviously.
Yeah, that we could have a whole show on the interesting world of Star Citizen and Chris Roberts. Okay, moving on. Shout-outs. Bait, lead us off.
I'd like to give a shout-out to my corporation, Incorruptibles. Love playing with you guys. Shout-out to this YouTube channel that I've been using for a couple of months now. Been trying to learn guitar on my own, and came across this guy called Marty Schwartz with GuitarJams.com. He's got a YouTube channel. Search it up. Really interesting, really helpful guy. Great videos.
All right, cool, man. Let's see. Zell, shout-outs.
I'm going to shout out to the other tank in this raid who has been not really gracious, but that's okay because I've been a really terrible other tank.
All right. Let's see, Darth.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again, and I'm looking forward to how all these machinima projects turn out.
Yep, absolutely, man. They elbow your way into the conversation next time. I'm sure you've got like incredible amounts of high tempo, dynamic comments that you could be making.
Oh yeah, that's me. High energy.
Absolutely, man. Heracles.
I'm going to give the shout out to Darth for reminding me about my own project. And I'm going to give a shout out to Scuda, who was like one of the first people I met on first people I met on Dust, and he randomly popped up a couple weeks ago, and it was really great to see him again because I hadn't seen him in a long time. So yeah, those are my shout outs.
Good deal, Pokey.
I'm actually going to give a shout out to my brother. Kind of a shameless plug here. He is taking commissions to do custom painted Nerf guns that are themed after Dust 514 and EVE Online. They're really fantastic. He's got a bunch of cool stuff up in his Etsy shop. Very talented kid, so I'm giving him a plug here because it's cool stuff. So just go to Etsy.com and search for Draven Designs, DravonDesIgns, Draven Designs. Check it out. I mean, it's pretty cool stuff, and he does custom work for other stuff like steampunk, that sort of thing. So shout out to him.
Yeah, I can actually vouch for that. I've checked out Pokey's brother's stuff, and it is quite good. His brother does some very good work. So if you know any cosplayers or like people that just like really, really, really good Halloween costumes and shit like that, it's definitely well worth it. So let's see, shout outs from me. I'd like to give a shout out to the Foo Fighters. I've been incredibly entertained. I'm a big Foo Fighters fan. So anybody that follows my Twitter stuff would probably have picked that up by now. But one of the things they've done over the last couple months is they've been bringing people up from the audience to either sing or play an instrument with them on one or two songs, and it's really entertaining watching some of it. They brought a guy up in Canada to do. He sang Tom Sawyer the full song, killed it too, absolutely crushed it. Brought this guy up on stage and he did Tom Sawyer. It was absolutely awesome. And they've had a couple other people on here and there. So if you're into getting a little YouTube on, that's always fun. Let's see, other shout outs. I would like to shout out to the blue Ford F-150 in Savannah, Georgia at the Lulu's Chocolate Bar today. The guy that parked with one set of his tires on the passenger side just far enough over into the other parking spot that nobody else could park there, thus creating a situation where if you wanted to park and go to Lulu's Chocolate Bar, you actually had to park 6 blocks away and it was pouring rain. So to that douche nozzle, thank you. And I think that about covers it.
There's a great image that's been going around Facebook. It's with it's just like this coloring book page of a turtle stuck to a windshield. It's like, I hear you. It seems you may have difficulty coloring in the lines. Try this; it'll help.
That's pretty legit. I wish I'd have had that one. Okay, guys, we're going to go bring episode 71 of Biomassed to a close. We do appreciate you guys coming on. Very much appreciate Darth and Heracles hopping on to the show with us, give us a little bit of content tonight, and we will do a little bit better trying to figure out something more focused to talk about in the next week's show. That being said, not a lot going on, but there are quite a few other games going on and some news that we can sort of throw out there. So we'll collaborate on that. And again, if anybody's out there got any recommendations on things they want us to cover or to go into a little bit of detail about, please feel free to hit us up on the biomass.com blog, or you can always hit us up on Skype and Twitter. Pretty active over there. Let's see. I think that about covers it, folks. So we're going to go ahead and land the plane, and we appreciate everybody listening and downloading. We really do. We've had a recent spike in downloads, and we do sincerely appreciate
it was a panic. I almost shut it off. I was like, oh my gosh, the numbers are going up way higher than I expected.
Yep. So and for the life of me, we can't really figure out why, because we acknowledge the fact that we suck pretty bad, but we do.
And there's like
appreciate-
nothing to us to talk about right now at all.
Yeah, we sincerely appreciate the feedback we do get though about trying to make the show better, and we want to make it relevant to you guys. So one of the things we are kicking around is maybe doing another couple spotlight series, kind of like what we did for the Shadowrun series about a month and a half ago, I guess. So if you've got any recommendations or suggestions on that, please get a hold of us, and we'll be doing a couple one-off shows on that maybe here in the future. So, folks, good night and good luck.
#PortDesk514.